In the pre-dawn darkness of May 10, 1940, Europe stood on a knife's edge for 8 months. The world had held its breath during the phony war. A strange, unnerving quiet after the invasion of Poland. The mighty French and British armies were dug in behind the Maginot Line, a chain of fortresses believed to be impregnable. They waited for a repeat of World War I, a slow, grinding battle of attrition. They were about to get the shock of their lives. This is the story of a military revolution, a 10-day campaign that shattered a continent and redrew the map of the 20th century. This is the story of Blitz. Our story begins not on the ground, but in the sky. As dawn broke, silent, ghostly shapes soared over the Belgian frontier. They were not bombers, but gliders, carrying elite German paratroopers. Their target was a single, colossal objective: Fort Eben-Emael. Eben-Emael was the linchpin of the Belgian defense, considered the strongest fortress in the world. Its massive concrete and steel cupolas housed heavy artillery that controlled the bridges over the Albert Canal. No army could cross into Belgium's heartland without first neutralizing this giant. The French and Belgians believed they could hold out for weeks, even months. The Germans planned to take it in minutes in an audacious, first-of-its-kind operation. Just 78 German soldiers landed their gliders on the roof of the fortress. The Belgian garrison of over 1,000 men was caught completely by surprise, trapped below ground, using a revolutionary new weapon that shaped. Paratroopers systematically destroyed the observation domes and gun emplacements. These explosive charges focused the blast into a superheated jet of metal, slicing through thick steel like a hot knife through butter. Within an hour, the unconquerable fortress was blind and toothless. By the next day, it surrendered. The gateway into Belgium was wide open. Simultaneously, a massive German force, Army Group B, smashed into the Netherlands and northern Belgium. This was the move the Allies had anticipated. They reacted exactly as the German planners hoped, rushing their best mobile forces, including the British Expeditionary Force and the French First Army, north into Belgium to meet this threat head-on. They thought they were moving to a decisive battle. In reality, they were walking straight into the jaws of a trap. Because the main German attack wasn't in the north, the real thrust, the Shui-Panchi, was happening far to the south, through a sector the Allies considered impossible for tanks, the Ardennes Forest. French General Maurice Gamelin had dismissed the Ardennes as a natural tank obstacle. Its dense woods, rolling hills, and narrow, winding roads were thought to be a death trap for any armored column. He was catastrophically wrong. While the Allies were distracted in Belgium, General Heinz Guderian S. Panzer Corzon, unprecedented concentration of over 1,000 tanks and armored vehicles, was inching its way through the forest. For 3 days, a traffic jam stretching over 100 miles snaked through the Ardennes, hidden from Allied air reconnaissance by the thick canopy. It was an enormous gamble. If they were discovered and stalled, they would be sitting ducks for Allied bombers. But they weren't. On the afternoon of May 12th, Guderian's panzers emerged from the woods near Sedan, the historic site of France's defeat in 1870. Facing them were not first-rate French troops, but second-line reservists who were ill-equipped and utterly unprepared for what was about to hit them. What followed was a terrifying symphony of modern warfare. The Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, unleashed a relentless assault. Stuka dive bombers, with their wailing Jericho trumpets, plunged from the sky, dropping bombs with pinpoint accuracy, shattering morale and breaking up defensive positions. They were, in effect, flying artillery, clearing the path for the tanks. Then came the Panzers. They didn't stop to consolidate their gains or wait for the slow-moving infantry. They punched a hole in the French lines and just kept going. This was the essence of Blitzkrieg: speed, surprise, and shock. Guderian, a pioneer of armored warfare, drove his men and machines relentlessly, often disobeying nervous superiors who urged caution. He understood that hesitation was fatal. The goal was to penetrate deep into the enemy's rear, severing their lines of communication and supply, creating chaos and panic. By May 14th, the Germans had crossed the Meuse River in force. The French front had not just been bent, it had been shattered. Guderian's tanks were now in open country, racing west towards the English Channel. The Allied armies that had rushed so confidently into Belgium now found themselves in mortal danger. The German scythe was swinging behind them, threatening to cut them off completely from the rest of France. The Allied command structure was communication was a disaster. Orders were outdated by the time they reached the front. French generals, trained in the slow, methodical doctrines of the last war, simply could not comprehend the speed of the German advance. They were trying to fight a 20th century war with a 19th century mindset. By May 20th, just 10 days after the invasion began, Guderian's lead tanks reached the coast at They had done it. They had cut the Allied forces in two. The British Expeditionary Force, the best of the French army, and the entire Belgian army were now trapped in a pocket with their backs to the sea. The result was the desperate evacuation from Dunkirk, a miracle of deliverance, but also a symbol of a staggering military catastrophe. The Netherlands had surrendered in 5 days. Belgium would surrender on May 28th. The battle for France was effectively lost. Even though Paris wouldn't fall until June 14th, the campaign of May 1940 was more than just a battle. It was a paradigm shift. The German victory wasn't just due to better tanks or planes. It was a victory of a superior idea, Blitzkrieg. The combination of concentrated armor, air power, and radio communications, all exploited by a doctrine that prized speed and initiative above all else, had proven devastatingly effective. It tore up the old rule book of war and showed the world a terrifying new face of combat. The fall of France in 6 weeks was a political and psychological earthquake, one whose aftershocks would shape the course of the Second World War and define military strategy for generations to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this dive into history fascinating, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that shaped our world. See you next time.